Palworld developer forced to make changes as Nintendo lawsuit continues. Nearly 8 months since the filing of a lawsuit from Nintendo and the Pokemon Company against Palworld developer Pocket Pair over patent infringement, the developer will no longer allow players to use PALs for gliding to, quote, avoid disruptions to the development and distribution of Palworld, end quote. Confirmed in a press release last Thursday, the change was implemented in patch version 5.5 as a result of one of 3 patent lawsuits issued by Nintendo that challenged Pocket Pair's right to use features typically found in Pokemon titles. Nintendo's 3 patents concern the system of capturing and deploying creatures for combat using a capture ball, patent JP7545191, the system of aiming an item that evaluates the chance of catching creatures, patent JP7493117, and the system of using mountable pals/Pokemon for transportation purposes, patent JP7528390. Patent JP754191, the first one, forced the dev back in November 30th of last year to remove the use of, quote, PAL spheres in favor of having PALs summoned next to the player character without the use of spheres. Although PALs will continue to apply buffs when gliding, the system of traversal will be replaced by a traditional glider similar to that of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, another Nintendo video game. Quote, we would like to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for the continued support of our fans over the past few months, the statement reads. We apologize for not being able to share as much information as we would like, but we trust our fans understand how difficult it is to be fully transparent while litigation is ongoing, end quote. It was revealed in April that Pocket Pair argued in, quote, preparatory briefs that other past games like Fallout and Monster Hunter contained similar features prior to the approval of Nintendo's patents that were filed between February and July of 2024. Pocket Pair's arguments were detailed by gaming analysis GamesFray after they dispatched a Japanese patent lawyer to acquire the case. Law patent. I can't remember. What did I write? A case file.
I couldn't find my mouse.
Idiot. So stupid. This guy's stupid. Can't do save files. Can't find his mouse. Quote, we sent someone to the Tokyo District Court because this is by far the most aggressive patent enforcement any game maker ever attempted against a rival, and we want to help our readers find out what's going on, GameFray states. An official judgment has yet to be handed down, although the future remains uncertain. Quote, we remain committed to developing Palworld and to delivering exciting new content to our fans, Pocket Pair proclaims, end quote. So, the positive about this is they're just doing this for safety purposes, so they can continue to put out their game.
Who's doing what for safety purposes?
Pocket Pair is rescinding the gliding mechanic as it stands, just to prevent any kind of issue from coming up with distribution and production. But that's not exactly a vote of confidence to see how this patent lawsuit is going onwards, because as GamesFray states, it is pretty severe at this point, especially because it's gone beyond just what was initially seeming to be the issue, which was the capture devices.
Yeah.
And now it's gone to traversal and analyzing, the capture rate of certain Pokemon.
At some point, it's like, okay, well, we don't have a game anymore.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, right, exactly. And, so far, they've at least, for 2 of these patents, been able to change it in a way that if Nintendo wins, they can still continue to do the game as it stands. But yeah, it's just, this oversight that Nintendo has over the features they have in their games and saying other people can't use them has entered into a realm of ridiculousness. Nintendo has a history of being lenient in terms of greed. For example, I always think of it's an older story now about how in lieu of not having layoffs, Nintendo stockholders, members of the executive team at Nintendo took a pay cut so that they didn't have to fire people. But at the same exact time, they're known for never putting their games on sale and also constantly having, lawsuits thrown at people for, in the case, of course, there was this guy whose last name was Bowser, funny enough. He's basically being made to pay for the rest of his life to Nintendo for doing some kind of emulator. So they are very dogged in their protection of their games. But this is really, as GamesFray once again states, the most they've ever done to a rival game developer. And to Nintendo's credit, Palworld is obviously a ripoff of Pokemon in terms of designs, in terms of just how the game looks.
Yep.
And, they added guns. That's their big change.
So, some of them literally are just recolored skins of famous Pokemon in the past. Like, it is pretty egregious in the designs. Now,
that's not what they're
that's not what they're going after, though. Yeah. They're not going after the designs of the characters. They're going after the sphere, which I was trying to find it, but I can't find anything updated. How do you capture the pals now? You
I
still
don't
throw
know.
a ball?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, things like throwing a ball to capture them, or throwing a ball to not even to capture them. I think it's just to spawn them is the problem. Is interesting. So now they just appear next to you. Having the indicator of like when you throw a ball to capture one, how successful are you going to be? Come on, man. Like you gotta have a video game here at some point. That's a little too in the weeds to like be considered fair, I think.
Yeah.
And then using pals as mounts or as gliding as a gliders. Again, guys, you weren't the first ones to do this. And
No.
like there's so many other cases of other people doing it. You brought up Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild with the glider. The
similar.
new glider being, similar to that. I would like to say Sly Cooper did it first, but
Well, the slider very much looks like Breath of the Wild slider. I haven't seen Slides. And most other people don't think of that one because they don't think of that game anymore. They don't.
But they should.
They
It's
should,
really
maybe.
good.
I have no doubt, but they don't.
Yeah, I think Nintendo has grounds to stand on for litigation here. Now, I think they're being a little bit extreme about it, and they typically are when they choose to go down this route. And I think it's well past the point of like, all right, they get the point.
Yeah.
Like we've learned our lessons. Like, can you chill out? But
Setting an example at the same time. They don't want to
Nintendo has a right to protect their intellectual properties. Nintendo has a right to, to protect their property. That's theirs, and it's totally fair that they are going down this route. I think they're being a little crazy about it, and I just don't think it's fair the way that they're choosing to go about it.
They always seem to overcorrect. They just do more than they should.
And again, they're not exactly hitting the things that I thought they would hit them on. Like some of those pals in Palworld are straight up Pokemon.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, whoa, you're not hitting them on the 30, 40 cases of this, but you're just hitting them on throw a ball, spawn a creature.
I presume that's because there's no patent for the designs, but there is patents for these things.
If my memory serves me right, they patented these things after Palworld came out.
They might have. After they came, yes, they did. Which also, it's why I think the argument that Pocket Pair is making is ultimately going to win out, because there are other games that have done some of these things beforehand.
Yeah.
It's just patent laws. I have no fucking clue what we're dealing with here. This story is the most I've ever had to learn about patent law, and so it could go either way. And of course, even without patent law, just going to the courts, you never know how it's going to end up. Now, of course, we kind of thought, okay, well, maybe like the FTC will prevent the acquisition of Activision Blizzard from happening on behalf of Microsoft. Fuck, been so long.
Why are we on that?
No,
now?
Activision buying Blizzard. Fuck no, they were Activision Blizzard.
Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard King.
Most recently, the FTC's appeal to prevent that merger failed. Of course, they'd already kind of conjoined by this point, but there was still room for them to win out. Clearly, they did not. So who knows how courts are going to handle things. And I am concerned for not just Pocket Pair, but what this is going to mean down the line. And will they, if they win this court case, will they go to some of these other similar games and say, well, you can't do that, to try and enforce, their own IPs, their own patents?
Well, the thing about these court cases, and the important thing about every court case, is the precedent that is set. And so if anything were to cross the line again, it would have to be very different than what's happening here with Palworld, because anything they say here in Palworld will become the precedent. And going forward, whether they say, yeah, Palworld, you're doing too much, or Palworld, no, you're perfectly within your rights to do that, that will be the standard set from here on out, like especially when it comes to Nintendo. So any other game that uses capture mechanics with a ball, they're going to be looking at this case to gauge on how they should proceed.
If they don't win this, I feel like they won't even really try again if that were to happen. Some other capture ball device.
I mean, it won't be in a way that like we'll ever hear about it. It'll probably be a lot of like, cease and desist letters sent out, or like phone calls, or like quick things that like they'll throw up and then they'll get taken down quickly because it'll get thrown out or whatever. Like just things that don't matter as much. This being like a full legal case is why it's causing headlines. And of course, it just being Nintendo.
Again, not knowing a lot about patent law, I don't know when this lawsuit would come to a head. I don't know if there's a typical length of time these usually last. I'm assuming it depends, of course, on the exact argument being made, but maybe we'll see an end to this story by the end of the year. I would hope so, because I kind of want a ruling on it as soon as possible, just to let us know where we stand.
Yeah. Court of law things always take forever, though. I mean, this started early, like mid to early last year, so
Yes.
yeah, we've had a lot of updates to it.